Dry, the power of unshakable belief, creating your extraordinary destiny. Have you ever stopped to consider the invisible force that shapes your entire existence? I'm talking about something more powerful than talent, more decisive than circumstances, and more transformative than luck. I'm talking about the unshakable power of belief. Most people drift through life as if their future were nothing more than a roll of the dice, but the truth is far more empowering and far more demanding. Every deep-seated belief you hold acts like an invisible seed planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind, growing silently until it bursts forth into concrete, undeniable results in your external world. Think about this for a moment. Those who doubt themselves don't just think limiting thoughts. They construct elaborate mental prisons, building walls where bridges should be. But those who believe with burning intensity don't just hope for better days. They construct pathways to extraordinary achievements that others call miraculous. Your mind functions exactly like a sophisticated GPS system. When you program it with faith and unwavering belief, it finds creative routes around every obstacle, discovers opportunities where others see dead ends, and guides you toward destinations that once seemed impossible. But when you program it with fear, doubt, and limiting beliefs, you find yourself driving in circles, visiting the same problems repeatedly, never making real progress toward your dreams. The principle is beautifully simple and devastatingly powerful. When you believe with absolute conviction, you activate energies and capabilities within yourself that transform every challenge into a stepping stone and open pathways to a destiny so grand that it takes your breath away. But here's what I need you to understand right now, and I mean this with every fiber of my being. This isn't just motivational theory or feel-good philosophy. This is the fundamental operating system of human achievement. And it's been working in your life, whether you've been conscious of it or not. Let me ask you something that could change everything for you today. What is the one dream or goal that you've been holding back from pursuing because deep down, you're not sure you truly deserve it or have what it takes to achieve it? Take a moment and really think about that question. I want you to share your answer in the comments below, because when you put your dreams into words and share them with others, something magical begins to happen. Your subconscious mind starts to take those dreams seriously, and while you're thinking about that, do me a favor and subscribe to this channel and hit that like button, because the content I'm sharing with you today has the power to completely transform your relationship with what's possible in your life. I've spent decades studying high achievers, and what I'm about to share with you represents the deepest secrets of human potential. Let me tell you about Helena, a woman whose story perfectly illustrates this principle. Helena had harbored a dream for years about becoming a university professor, but she lived trapped in a prison of self-doubt. She convinced herself that she didn't have sufficient preparation, that she wasn't smart enough, that she didn't have the right connections or background. For years, she limited herself to temporary teaching jobs, substituting in high schools, tutoring students for extra income, and watching from the sidelines as others lived the academic life she secretly craved. But something extraordinary happened the day Helena decided to trade her doubts for unshakable belief. It wasn't a gradual process or a slow evolution of thinking. It was a decisive moment when she looked in the mirror and declared, "I'm going to become a university professor, and I'm going to start believing in myself with the same intensity that I've been doubting myself." From that moment, her entire posture toward life shifted. She dedicated herself to advanced studies with a discipline that surprised even her closest friends. She actively sought out mentors in her field, reaching out to professors she had previously thought were too accomplished to give her the time of day. She began presenting at conferences, writing research papers, and positioning herself as the expert she was becoming. Within 3 years, Helena had not only completed her advanced degrees, but had secured a position as a full-time professor at a respected university. When I interviewed her recently about her transformation, she told me something that still gives me chills. She said, "Brian, my entire life pivoted in the exact moment I exchanged doubt for belief. Everything that followed was simply the natural consequence of that internal shift. I didn't become a different person. I became the person I was always meant to be." Now let me tell you about Carlos, because his story demonstrates how belief works in creative endeavors. Carlos had been composing music for years, creating beautiful songs that he kept locked away in his desk drawer like precious secrets. He was paralyzed by the fear of rejection, convinced that his music wasn't good enough, that the industry was too competitive, that he didn't have what it took to succeed as a professional musician. His belief system had created a reality where his talents remained hidden from the world. But the day Carlos began to believe with absolute conviction that his music had genuine value, everything changed. He started sharing his compositions at small local venues, open mic nights, and coffee shop performances. The response was overwhelmingly positive. But more importantly, Carlos began carrying himself like a professional musician. He invested in better equipment, connected with other musicians, and started treating his music as a legitimate business rather than just a hobby. Within 2 years, he had recorded his first album, built a dedicated following, and was earning a living doing what he loved most. What changed for Carlos? Only one thing, but it was the most important thing of all. The force of his belief transformed from a whisper of possibility into a roar of certainty, and the transformation manifested as creative courage and sustained action. These stories aren't unique or exceptional. They're examples of a universal principle that governs human achievement. Your outer world is always a perfect reflection of your inner belief system. When you truly understand this principle and learn to apply it consciously and consistently, you gain access to a level of personal power that most people never experience. But here's where most people get stuck. They hear stories like Helena's and Carlos's, and they think, well, that's great for them, but my situation is different. My challenges are bigger, my resources are smaller, my circumstances are more difficult. This is exactly the kind of thinking that keeps people trapped in mediocrity. Every person who has ever achieved something extraordinary had to overcome circumstances, face challenges, and work with limited resources at some point in their journey. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck isn't the absence of challenges. It's the presence of unshakable belief. When you believe with absolute conviction, you don't see obstacles. You see opportunities for creative solutions. You don't see limitations. You see launching pads for innovation. You don't see problems. You see puzzles waiting to be solved. I learned this principle firsthand during my own journey from struggling salesperson to successful entrepreneur and speaker. There was a time in my life when I was failing at everything I touched. I was selling encyclopedias door to door and barely making enough money to pay for gas to get to my next appointment. My belief system was completely focused on everything that was wrong with my life, everything I lacked, and every reason why I couldn't succeed. But I had a mentor who changed everything for me. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "Brian, you're going to keep getting exactly what you're believing for until you change what you're believing for. Your beliefs are creating your reality, and if you want a different reality, you need different beliefs." That conversation was the beginning of my transformation, and it's the reason I'm sharing this message with you today. The moment I began to believe that I could succeed, that I had value to offer, that I could learn and grow and become more than I had been, everything began to change. I started studying successful people, reading books, attending seminars, and most importantly, I began to see myself as a person who was destined for success rather than doomed to failure. The external changes followed naturally from the internal transformation. Here's what I want you to understand with absolute clarity. Your beliefs are not just thoughts floating around in your head. They are powerful creative forces that shape your decisions, influence your actions, determine your habits, and ultimately create your destiny. When you believe you can achieve something, you automatically begin looking for ways to make it happen. Your mind becomes solution-oriented rather than problem-focused. You start noticing opportunities that were always there, but were invisible to you when you operated from a mindset of limitation. Conversely, when you believe something is impossible or beyond your reach, your mind automatically begins collecting evidence to support that belief. You notice every obstacle, every challenge, every reason why your goal is unrealistic. You unconsciously sabotage your own efforts and create a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure. This is why two people can face identical circumstances and produce completely different results. It's not about talent, intelligence, or luck. It's about the fundamental beliefs they hold about what's possible for their lives. Let me give you a practical example of how this works. Consider two people who want to start their own business. Person A believes that entrepreneurship is risky, that most businesses fail, and that they don't have what it takes to succeed. Person B believes that entrepreneurship is the fastest path to financial freedom, that business skills can be learned, and that they have unique value to offer the marketplace. Person A will approach business planning by focusing primarily on everything that could go wrong. They'll hesitate to invest in their business, delay taking action until they feel completely prepared, and interpret every setback as confirmation that they shouldn't have tried. Person B will approach business planning by focusing on everything that could go right. They'll invest in their education and their business, take calculated risks, and interpret every setback as valuable feedback that brings them closer to success. The external circumstances are identical, but the beliefs create completely different realities. This is the power of unshakable belief in action. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Brian, this sounds too simple. If belief is so powerful, why isn't everyone successful? The answer is that most people have never been taught how to consciously examine and change their belief systems. They inherited their beliefs from parents, teachers, peer groups, and society without ever questioning whether those beliefs serve their highest good. Most people are walking around with belief systems that were installed in their minds during childhood by well-meaning but limited adults who are operating from their own fears and limitations. They're trying to create extraordinary lives with ordinary beliefs, and it simply doesn't work that way. The good news is that beliefs can be changed. They're not permanent fixtures in your mind. They're software programs that can be upgraded, modified, or completely replaced. But here's the key. Changing your beliefs requires conscious, intentional effort. It doesn't happen automatically, and it doesn't happen overnight. It requires you to become aware of your current belief patterns, challenge the beliefs that don't serve you, and deliberately install new beliefs that align with the life you want to create. Let me share with you the exact process I've used with thousands of clients to help them transform their belief systems and create breakthrough results in their lives. This isn't theory. This is a proven methodology that works when you work it. The first step is belief awareness. You must become conscious of what you currently believe about yourself, your capabilities, and what's possible in your life. Most people are completely unconscious of their belief systems. They're running on automatic pilot, letting their subconscious programming control their decisions and actions without ever examining whether that programming serves their goals. To develop belief awareness, I want you to take out a piece of paper and write down your answers to these questions. What do you believe about your ability to achieve your biggest goals? What do you believe about money and your worthiness to earn it? What do you believe about relationships and your ability to attract and maintain healthy ones? What do you believe about your intelligence, your creativity, your potential for growth and change? Don't give me the answers you think you should give or the answers that sound positive. Give me the honest, raw truth about what you actually believe deep down inside. These beliefs are driving your behavior and creating your results whether you acknowledge them or not. So you might as well bring them into the light where you can examine them. The second step is belief evaluation. Once you've identified your current beliefs, you need to honestly assess whether they're empowering you or limiting you. Ask yourself this question about each belief. Is this belief helping me create the life I want, or is it holding me back from my potential? Here's a simple test. If a belief makes you feel excited, motivated, and confident about your future, it's probably empowering. If a belief makes you feel discouraged, fearful, or hopeless about your possibilities, it's definitely limiting. If you're going to create an extraordinary life, you need beliefs that inspire extraordinary action. The third step is belief replacement. This is where most people struggle because they try to change their beliefs through willpower alone, and that rarely works. Beliefs that have been reinforced over years or decades have deep roots in your subconscious mind, and you can't just think your way out of them. Effective belief replacement requires a combination of intellectual understanding and emotional conviction. You need to not only understand intellectually why a new belief is better for you, you need to feel it emotionally and begin acting as if it's already true. Let me give you a specific example of how this works. Suppose you've discovered that you have a limiting belief that says, "I'm not smart enough to be really successful." The intellectual replacement might be, "I am intelligent, capable, and constantly growing in wisdom and understanding." But intellectual replacement alone isn't enough. You need to find evidence for your new belief. Start collecting proof that you are intelligent and capable. Remember times when you solved problems, learned new skills, or figured out complex situations. Write down these examples and review them regularly. Your subconscious mind responds to evidence, and the more evidence you can provide for your new belief, the stronger it becomes. You also need to act as if your new belief is already true. If you truly believed you were intelligent and capable, how would you carry yourself? What kinds of challenges would you take on? What would you study? Who would you associate with? What goals would you set? Start acting that way now, even if you don't fully feel it yet. Your actions will eventually change your feelings, and your feelings will reinforce your new beliefs. The fourth step is belief reinforcement. Changing a belief isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. You need to consistently feed your mind with information, experiences, and associations that support your new, empowering beliefs while avoiding those that reinforce your old limiting ones. This means being very selective about what you read, what you watch, who you spend time with, and what you allow into your mental environment. If you're trying to develop a belief in your ability to create financial abundance, don't spend your free time reading about economic doom and gloom. Instead, study successful people, read biographies of entrepreneurs, and associate with others who share your commitment to financial growth. Every single day, you need to make choices that either strengthen your empowering beliefs or weaken them. Every book you read, every conversation you have, every thought you dwell on is either moving you toward your goals or away from them. There is no neutral ground when it comes to belief development. Now let me tell you about Sarah, one of my coaching clients who applied these principles to transform her career and her entire life trajectory. Sarah was working as a mid-level manager at a large corporation, and while she was competent at her job, she felt completely unfulfilled and trapped in a cycle of mediocrity. She had dreams of starting her own consulting business, but she was paralyzed by a deep-seated belief that she wasn't experienced enough or connected enough to succeed as an entrepreneur. When Sarah first came to me, her belief system was dominated by fear-based thinking. She believed that business ownership was only for people with MBA degrees from prestigious schools, that she needed years more experience before she could offer consulting services, and that the market was too saturated for her to compete effectively. These beliefs had created a reality where she was stuck in analysis paralysis, constantly preparing to prepare, but never actually taking action toward her entrepreneurial dreams. We began by working on belief awareness. Sarah was shocked to discover how many limiting beliefs she had accumulated over the years without even realizing it. She had been operating from a scarcity mindset that told her there wasn't enough success to go around, that she had to be perfect before she could start, and that failure would be catastrophic rather than educational. The breakthrough came when Sarah began to replace these limiting beliefs with empowering ones. Instead of believing she needed more experience, she began to believe that her unique combination of corporate experience and fresh perspective was exactly what certain clients needed. Instead of believing the market was saturated, she began to believe that there was an unlimited demand for high-quality consulting services from someone who truly cared about client results. But here's the key. Sarah didn't just think these new thoughts. She acted on them. She began positioning herself as a consultant while still employed, taking on small projects in her spare time, building a portfolio of results, and developing her expertise. Within 18 months, she had built her consulting practice to the point where it was generating more income than her corporate job, and she made the transition to full-time entrepreneurship. Today, Sarah runs a 7-figure consulting firm, has been featured in major business publications, and regularly speaks at industry conferences. When people ask her what changed, she always gives the same answer: I stopped believing in my limitations and started believing in my possibilities. This is the transformative power of unshakable belief in action. It doesn't matter where you're starting from or what challenges you're facing. When you develop absolute conviction in your ability to create the life you desire, you automatically begin to see opportunities, develop solutions, and take actions that align with that belief. But let me be clear about something important. Belief without action is just wishful thinking. You can't just sit in your room visualizing success and expect the universe to deliver your dreams to your doorstep. Unshakable belief must be coupled with massive, consistent action in order to produce extraordinary results. The relationship between belief and action is synergistic. Strong beliefs inspire bold actions, and bold actions reinforce strong beliefs. This creates an upward spiral of confidence and achievement that becomes unstoppable over time. Let me tell you about Marcus, another client whose story illustrates this principle perfectly. Marcus was a talented athlete in high school, but a serious injury ended his dreams of playing college sports. For years after his injury, he struggled with depression and a sense of lost identity. He believed that his best years were behind him, that he had missed his one chance at greatness, and that he was destined for an ordinary life. Marcus drifted through his 20s, working dead-end jobs and feeling sorry for himself. His belief system was completely focused on what he had lost, rather than what he could still create. Every day was a reminder of what wasn't possible, rather than an opportunity to discover what was. Everything changed when Marcus discovered strength training and bodybuilding. Initially, he was just looking for a way to get back in shape and feel better about himself. But as he began to see physical improvements, something deeper began to shift. He started to believe again that he could set goals and achieve them, that his best years might actually be ahead of him rather than behind him. As Marcus's belief in himself grew stronger, his actions became bolder. He began studying nutrition, exercise science, and human psychology. He started competing in bodybuilding competitions and winning. He began coaching other people who had experienced setbacks and were looking to rebuild their lives. Today, Marcus owns a chain of successful fitness centers, has written 2 books on overcoming adversity, and has helped thousands of people transform their bodies and their lives. He regularly tells his clients, "Your current circumstances are not your final destination. They're just your starting point for something greater." Marcus's transformation began with a shift in belief, but it was sustained by consistent action. He didn't just believe he could change his life. He acted every single day in alignment with that belief until his external reality matched his internal conviction. This brings me to a crucial point that I need you to understand. Most people reverse the order of belief and evidence. They say, I'll believe it when I see it. But high achievers understand that the opposite is true. I'll see it when I believe it. You must be willing to believe in your dreams before you have evidence that they're possible, because your belief is what creates the evidence. This doesn't mean being naive or unrealistic about challenges. It means being absolutely certain that you can find a way to overcome any challenge that stands between you and your goals. It means believing in your ability to learn, grow, adapt, and persist until you succeed. I've studied thousands of successful people over the years, and they all share this common characteristic. They believed in their dreams long before anyone else did, and they maintained that belief even when circumstances suggested they should give up. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. He was fired from his first job at a newspaper and went bankrupt several times before creating his entertainment empire. Steven Spielberg was rejected from film school 3 times before becoming one of the most successful directors in history. Oprah Winfrey overcame poverty, abuse, and discrimination to become one of the most influential media personalities in the world. What separated these individuals from everyone else wasn't superior talent or better circumstances. It was unshakable belief in their vision, coupled with relentless action toward their goals. They understood that temporary setbacks were just temporary, but giving up was permanent. Here's what I want you to do right now to begin applying these principles in your own life. I want you to identify one area where you've been held back by limiting beliefs, and I want you to commit to transforming those beliefs starting today. First, write down your biggest goal or dream. Make it something that excites you and scares you at the same time. If it doesn't scare you at least a little bit, it's probably not big enough to transform your life. Your goal should require you to grow into the person capable of achieving it. Second, identify the limiting beliefs that have been holding you back from pursuing this goal. What do you believe about yourself, your circumstances, or your possibilities that has kept you playing small? Write these beliefs down on paper so you can see them clearly. Third, create empowering replacement beliefs for each limiting belief you've identified. Don't just make them positive, make them powerful. Instead of, I might be able to succeed, write, I am destined for extraordinary success. Instead of, maybe I'm good enough, write, I have unique gifts that the world needs. Fourth, find or create evidence for your new empowering beliefs. Look for examples in your past where you overcame challenges, learned new skills, or achieved things that once seemed impossible. Collect success stories of others who have achieved similar goals despite facing similar challenges. Fifth, begin acting immediately as if your new beliefs are already true. What would you do today if you absolutely knew you would succeed? What risks would you take? What investments would you make? What conversations would you have? Start doing those things right now. Every small step counts, even when everything seems difficult. The key is to maintain forward momentum while your new beliefs are taking root in your subconscious mind. Action creates evidence, evidence strengthens belief, and stronger belief inspires bolder action. This becomes a success spiral that builds unstoppable momentum toward your goals. Let me tell you about Jennifer, whose story demonstrates how quickly life can change when you apply these principles with commitment and consistency. Jennifer was a single mother working 2 part-time jobs to make ends meet. She had always dreamed of becoming a real estate agent, but she believed she didn't have the education, the connections, or the financial resources to succeed in such a competitive field. Jennifer's limiting beliefs had created a reality where she was stuck in survival mode, working hard but getting nowhere. She was exhausted, discouraged, and beginning to believe that her dreams were nothing more than fantasies that would never become reality. But Jennifer attended one of my seminars, and something clicked when she heard these principles explained. She realized that her beliefs about what was possible were the only real limitations in her life. She made a decision that night to stop making excuses and start making progress. Jennifer began by studying the real estate industry in her spare time, even though she was already working 12-hour days. She started attending real estate investment meetings, networking events, and industry workshops. She saved every penny she could to enroll in real estate school, even though it meant making financial sacrifices for several months. But here's the most important part. Jennifer began carrying herself like a successful real estate professional long before she had any success to show for it. She dressed professionally, spoke with confidence about market trends, and positioned herself as someone who was serious about building a career in real estate. Within 6 months of changing her belief system, Jennifer had passed her real estate exam, joined a successful brokerage, and closed her first deal. Within 2 years, she was earning more money than she had ever imagined possible, and was recognized as one of the top agents in her market. Jennifer's transformation wasn't the result of luck or special circumstances. It was the natural consequence of replacing limiting beliefs with empowering ones, and then acting consistently in alignment with those new beliefs. She proved to herself and everyone around her that extraordinary results are possible when you combine unshakable belief with massive action. The question I want you to ask yourself right now is this: what would be possible in your life if you stopped believing in your limitations and started believing in your unlimited potential? What goals would you set? What challenges would you take on? What version of yourself would you become? Your answers to these questions represent the life that's waiting for you on the other side of your current belief system. The only thing standing between you and that extraordinary life is your willingness to believe in it before you can see it, and then act on that belief with complete commitment until it becomes your reality. Now, let me share with you some specific strategies for strengthening your belief system and accelerating your progress toward your goals. These are techniques that I've used personally and taught to thousands of successful individuals over the years. The first strategy is mental rehearsal. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This means you can use visualization to create mental evidence for your new beliefs before you have physical evidence in your external world. Every morning when you wake up and every evening before you go to sleep, spend at least 10 minutes vividly imagining yourself already living your ideal life. See yourself achieving your goals, experiencing the emotions of success, and enjoying the lifestyle you're working toward. Make these mental movies as detailed and realistic as possible. But don't just visualize the end result. Visualize yourself handling challenges with confidence, solving problems creatively, and persisting through difficulties with unshakable determination. Your subconscious mind needs to believe not only that you can succeed, but that you can handle success and everything that comes with it. The second strategy is environmental design. Your beliefs are constantly being influenced by your environment, so you need to create an environment that supports your new empowering beliefs. This includes your physical environment, your social environment, and your mental environment. Surround yourself with books, audio programs, videos, and other resources that reinforce your new beliefs about what's possible. Remove or minimize exposure to negative media, pessimistic people, and other influences that reinforce limiting beliefs. Create a physical space that reflects your goals and aspirations, whether that's a vision board, inspiring photographs, or objects that remind you of your dreams. Most importantly, associate with people who share your commitment to growth and excellence. The conversations you have every day are programming your subconscious mind for either success or failure. If you're constantly around people who complain, make excuses, and focus on limitations, those attitudes will eventually influence your own thinking. Seek out mentors, coaches, masterminds, and peer groups filled with people who are already achieving at the level you aspire to reach. Their belief systems will begin to rub off on you through regular association, and you'll start to see possibilities that were invisible to you when you were surrounded by limited thinking. The third strategy is progressive goal setting. Most people set goals that are either too small to inspire them or so large that they seem impossible, which actually reinforces limiting beliefs rather than empowering ones. The key is to set goals that stretch you, but don't break you. Start with a goal that's about 25% bigger than what you think you can achieve. This is large enough to require growth, but small enough that you can believe in it. When you achieve that goal, set another one that's 25% bigger than your new current level. This creates a series of believable challenges that gradually expand your belief system and your capabilities. Each success builds evidence for your next level of belief, and each new belief enables you to set bigger goals. Over time, you'll find yourself achieving things that once seemed completely impossible because you built up to them through a series of progressively larger successes. The fourth strategy is daily belief reinforcement. Changing deeply ingrained beliefs requires consistent daily attention. You need to consciously program your mind every single day with thoughts, words, and images that support your new, empowering beliefs. Create a daily routine that includes reading inspiring books, listening to motivational audio programs, reviewing your goals and visualizations, and affirming your new beliefs. This isn't just positive thinking, it's systematic belief development. You're deliberately installing new software in your mental computer. Write out your empowering beliefs on index cards and read them several times throughout the day. Record them in your own voice and listen to them while you exercise, drive, or do other routine activities. The key is repetition with emotion. The more often you expose your mind to empowering messages with genuine feeling, the faster they'll become automatic beliefs. Let me tell you about David, whose story illustrates how these strategies work together to create breakthrough results. David was a middle manager at a technology company who had always dreamed of starting his own software development firm. But he was paralyzed by beliefs about his lack of business experience, limited network, and the high failure rate of new businesses. David's limiting beliefs had created a reality where he talked about entrepreneurship but never took action toward it. He spent years researching business plans, analyzing market conditions, and preparing for the perfect moment to launch his company. But the perfect moment never came, because his belief system was focused on everything that could go wrong rather than everything that could go right. When David began applying these belief transformation strategies, everything changed. He started each day with mental rehearsal, visualizing himself successfully running his own company, making important business decisions, and enjoying the freedom of entrepreneurship. He redesigned his environment to support his entrepreneurial aspirations, filling his office with business books, success stories, and reminders of his goals. Most importantly, David began associating with other entrepreneurs through local business groups and online communities. For the first time, he was regularly exposed to people who talked about business challenges as solvable problems rather than insurmountable obstacles. Their confidence and problem-solving mindset began to influence his own thinking. David set a progressive series of goals, starting with developing a solid business plan, then creating a minimal viable product, then acquiring his first customer, then reaching his first $10,000 in revenue. Each achievement built his confidence and expanded his belief about what was possible. Within 18 months of beginning this process, David had left his corporate job and was running a thriving software development company. Today, his company has over 50 employees and generates millions of dollars in annual revenue. But David always emphasizes that the business success was just the external manifestation of the internal transformation that happened when he changed his belief system. These strategies work, but they require commitment and consistency. You can't apply them sporadically and expect dramatic results. Belief transformation is like physical fitness. You wouldn't expect to get in great shape by exercising once a week. And you can't expect to transform your beliefs by working on them only when you feel like it. Make these practices part of your daily routine for at least 90 days. That's approximately how long it takes for new neural pathways to become established in your brain and for new beliefs to become automatic responses rather than conscious efforts. But here's something crucial that I need you to understand. Even with the most powerful belief system in the world, you will still face challenges, setbacks, and obstacles on your journey toward your goals. Unshakable belief doesn't eliminate difficulties. It changes how you respond to them. When you believe with absolute conviction in your ability to succeed, you see every challenge as temporary and every setback as educational. You understand that obstacles are not roadblocks. They're detours that often lead to even better destinations than you originally planned. Let me share with you the story of Robert, one of the most inspiring examples of unshakable belief I've ever encountered. Robert was diagnosed with a serious illness in his early 30s that doctors said would significantly limit his physical capabilities for the rest of his life. At the time, Robert was building a construction company, and his doctors advised him to find a less physically demanding career. Robert's family and friends, motivated by love and concern, encouraged him to accept disability benefits and adjust his expectations about what would be possible in his life. Everyone around him was operating from a belief system that focused on his limitations rather than his possibilities. But Robert refused to accept those limitations. Instead of believing that his illness defined what was possible for him, he chose to believe that it was simply another challenge to overcome. He began studying everything he could find about his condition, exploring alternative treatments, and connecting with others who had faced similar challenges successfully. Robert restructured his construction company to leverage his knowledge and experience rather than his physical capabilities. He moved from hands-on construction work to project management, design consultation, and business development. He hired great people to handle the physical aspects of the work while he focused on the strategic and creative elements. Today, Robert's company is one of the most successful construction firms in his region. He's in better health than he's been in years, and he regularly speaks to groups about overcoming adversity and refusing to accept limitations. Robert's favorite saying is, "Your circumstances are not your destiny. Your decisions are your destiny." Robert's story illustrates a fundamental truth about unshakable belief. It's not about denying reality or pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about maintaining absolute faith in your ability to find solutions, create alternatives, and ultimately prevail regardless of what circumstances you face. This kind of belief system creates what I call solution-oriented thinking. Instead of focusing on problems, you automatically focus on possibilities. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "How can I use this situation to become stronger, smarter, or more resourceful?" Instead of seeing setbacks as evidence that you should quit, you see them as information that helps you adjust your strategy. Every person who has achieved something extraordinary has faced moments when giving up seemed like the logical choice. What separates those who succeed from those who quit is their ability to maintain unshakable belief, even when external circumstances provide no logical reason for hope. This is why belief development is the most important skill you can cultivate. It's not just about achieving external goals. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle any challenge life presents and turn it into an opportunity for growth and achievement. Now, let me address something that might be going through your mind right now. You might be thinking, "Brian, this all sounds great in theory, but my situation is different. My challenges are real. My limitations are genuine. I can't just think my way out of my problems." I understand that feeling because I've felt it myself, and I've worked with thousands of people who have expressed the same concern. You're absolutely right that positive thinking alone isn't enough to overcome serious challenges. But that's not what I'm talking about when I discuss unshakable belief. unshakable belief, is not naive optimism or wishful thinking. It's a realistic assessment of your true potential, coupled with absolute commitment to developing that potential regardless of current circumstances. It's understanding that while you may not be able to control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond to what happens to you. Let me tell you about Maria, whose story will help you understand this distinction. Maria immigrated to the United States as a young adult with no money, limited English skills, and no family connections. She was working multiple minimum wage jobs just to survive, and by any external measure, her chances of achieving significant success seemed very limited. Maria could have easily developed beliefs about being a victim of circumstances, but the system being rigged against immigrants, or about needing to accept a life of financial struggle. Many people in similar situations develop exactly those kinds of limiting beliefs, and they become self-fulfilling prophecies. But Maria chose a different path. She decided to believe that her immigrant experience was actually an advantage because it had given her resourcefulness, determination, and a unique perspective that could serve her well in business. She believed that her ability to overcome the challenges of starting over in a new country proved she could overcome any obstacle. Maria began studying English with the same intensity that others watched television. She took every free business course she could find at the local library and community college. She started a small cleaning business because it required minimal startup capital and played to her willingness to work harder than anyone else. But here's the key. Maria didn't just work in her business. She worked on her business. She studied marketing, customer service, and business systems. She treated every client interaction as an opportunity to learn and improve. She reinvested every profit back into growing her company. Today, Maria owns one of the largest commercial cleaning companies in her city. She employs over 200 people, many of whom are immigrants she has mentored and helped achieve their own version of the American dream. Maria's success didn't happen because she ignored her challenges. It happened because she refused to be defined by them. This is the power of unshakable belief in action. It's not about pretending difficulties don't exist. It's about maintaining absolute faith in your ability to overcome them. It's about focusing on possibilities rather than limitations, solutions rather than problems, and progress rather than perfection. Your current circumstances, no matter how challenging, are not your permanent address. They're temporary conditions that will change as you change. The moment you begin to believe with absolute conviction that better days are not only possible, but inevitable, you begin to act in ways that make those better days a reality. But let me be very clear about something important. Developing unshakable belief is not a passive process that happens automatically over time. It requires active, intentional effort every single day. You must be vigilant about protecting your mind from negative influences, while consistently feeding it with empowering messages and experiences. This means making tough choices about how you spend your time, who you associate with, and what information you allow into your consciousness. You might need to stop watching certain television programs, reading certain publications, or spending time with certain people who consistently reinforce limiting beliefs and negative thinking. I know this might sound extreme, but your belief system is the foundation of your entire life. Everything else you want to achieve depends on having empowering beliefs that support rather than sabotage your efforts. If you're not willing to guard your mind carefully, you'll find yourself unconsciously adopting the limiting beliefs of the people and media sources around you. This is especially important in today's information age, where we're constantly bombarded with messages designed to create fear, anxiety, and discouragement. News media, social media, and entertainment media all profit from capturing and holding our attention, and negative emotions are much more effective at capturing attention than positive ones. If you spend hours every day consuming negative media, those messages will gradually program your subconscious mind for fear and limitation rather than confidence and possibility. You'll start to see the world as a dangerous, limited place where success is unlikely and failure is probable. Successful people understand this and are very careful about their information diet. They choose to fill their minds with stories of achievement, strategies for success, and inspiration for overcoming challenges. They understand that their mental input directly influences their emotional state, their decision-making ability, and ultimately, their results. Let me give you a practical example of how to apply this principle. Instead of starting your day by checking news headlines or social media feeds, which are typically filled with problems and conflicts you can't control, start your day by reading something inspiring and empowering. This could be a biography of someone you admire, a book about personal development, or content that teaches you new skills related to your goals. This simple change in your morning routine will program your mind for possibility and growth rather than anxiety and limitation. You'll begin each day focused on what you can control and what you can create, rather than what's wrong with the world around you. Similarly, instead of ending your day by watching negative news or mindless entertainment, end your day by reviewing your goals, visualizing your ideal future, or reading something that reinforces your empowering beliefs. This will program your subconscious mind to work on solutions and opportunities while you sleep, rather than processing fears and worries. These might seem like small changes, but they compound over time to create dramatically different belief systems and life outcomes. The person who feeds their mind with empowering content every day for a year will think completely differently than the person who fills their mind with negative content every day for a year. Now, let me share with you one of the most powerful belief-building exercises I've ever discovered. It's called the Success Timeline, and it involves creating a detailed mental map of your future achievements as if they've already happened. Here's how it works. Take out a large sheet of paper and create a timeline starting with today and extending out for the next 5 to 10 years. Mark specific dates when you will achieve various milestones related to your major goals. Don't just write vague objectives. Write specific, measurable achievements with exact dates. For example, if your goal is to start a business, you might write January 15th, filed articles of incorporation and opened business bank account. March 1st, launched website and acquired first customer. June 30th, reached $10,000 in monthly revenue. December 31st, achieved $100,000 in annual revenue. The key is to write these future achievements as if they're historical facts rather than hopeful wishes. Use past tense language and be as specific as possible about dates, numbers, and circumstances. Your subconscious mind responds to specificity and detail, so the more vivid you can make these future memories, the more real they become to your inner belief system. Once you've created your success timeline, read through it every morning and evening. Visualize yourself experiencing each achievement as you come to it chronologically. Feel the emotions you'll experience when you reach each milestone. Make these future memories as real and vivid as your actual historical memories. This exercise works because your subconscious mind begins to treat these imagined futures as inevitable realities rather than uncertain possibilities. You start to feel as confident about your future achievements as you do about your past ones. This confidence manifests as bolder actions, better decisions, and greater persistence in the face of challenges. I learned this technique from a billionaire entrepreneur who told me he had been using it for over 20 years. He showed me his original success timeline from when he was just starting out, and every single achievement on it had not only come to pass, but had been exceeded. He said, "Brian, the power of this exercise isn't just that it helps you achieve your goals. It's that it expands your belief about what's possible so you end up achieving much more than you originally thought you could." That's exactly what happened for Rebecca, one of my clients who used the success timeline to transform her career in the pharmaceutical industry. Rebecca was a talented researcher who felt stuck in a corporate laboratory, dreaming of starting her own biotech company, but convinced she didn't have the business experience or funding connections to make it happen. Rebecca's initial success timeline seemed almost laughably ambitious to her when she first wrote it. She mapped out securing patent protection for her research, raising venture capital funding, assembling a world-class team, and bringing groundbreaking treatments to market. When she looked at those goals on paper, part of her thought she was delusional to even imagine such outcomes. But Rebecca committed to reading her success timeline every single day and visualizing each achievement as if it had already happened. Gradually, her belief system began to shift. Instead of seeing herself as just a researcher, she began to see herself as an entrepreneur. Instead of focusing on all the obstacles to starting a biotech company, she began to focus on the opportunities and possibilities. As Rebecca's beliefs changed, her actions changed. She began networking with other entrepreneurs, attending industry conferences, and positioning herself as someone who was serious about commercializing her research. She started speaking at scientific meetings, not just as a researcher presenting data, but as an innovator with solutions to important medical problems. Today, less than 5 years after creating her first success timeline, Rebecca is the CEO of a successful biotech company that has attracted over $50 million in funding and has multiple products in clinical trials. When I asked her what made the difference, she said, "The success timeline made my dreams feel inevitable rather than impossible. Once I could see the path clearly, I could walk it with confidence." This is the transformative power of unshakable belief combined with systematic action. When you can see your success as clearly as you can see your past, you begin to act with the confidence and persistence that make that success inevitable. But here's something crucial that I want you to understand. Developing unshakable belief doesn't mean you'll never experience doubt, fear, or discouragement. These are natural human emotions that everyone experiences, regardless of their level of success or confidence. The difference is that people with unshakable belief don't let these temporary emotions derail their long-term commitment to their goals. When doubt arises, they acknowledge it without being controlled by it. They understand that doubt is just mental static that doesn't represent reality. When fear appears, they feel it fully but act in spite of it. They know that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in the presence of fear. When discouragement threatens to overwhelm them, they revisit their compelling vision of the future and remember why their goals matter so much to them. Let me share with you a personal example of how this works. Several years ago, I was going through one of the most challenging periods of my professional life. A major business venture had failed. I was facing significant financial pressure, and several people I trusted had advised me to consider retiring from public speaking and consulting. I won't lie to you. There were moments when I questioned everything I believed about success, achievement, and the principles I'd been teaching for decades. The voice of doubt was loud and persistent, telling me that maybe I was deluding myself about my abilities and my potential for future success. But I had learned that feelings are not facts, and temporary circumstances don't determine permanent outcomes. Instead of making major life decisions based on temporary emotions, I went back to my fundamental beliefs about human potential, the power of persistence, and the inevitability of recovery from setbacks. I reminded myself of all the challenges I had overcome in the past, all the goals I had achieved despite obstacles, and all the people I had helped transform their lives through these same principles. I reconnected with my core purpose of helping others achieve their potential, and I recommitted to demonstrating these principles through my own life. That difficult period ultimately became one of the most important growth experiences of my life. It forced me to deepen my understanding of these principles, strengthen my own belief system, and develop even more effective methods for helping others achieve breakthrough results. The setback became the setup for an even higher level of success and impact. This is what unshakable belief looks like in practice. It's not the absence of challenges or the elimination of negative emotions. It's the ability to maintain your commitment to your vision and your confidence in your ultimate success, regardless of temporary circumstances or fluctuating feelings. Your belief system is like a ship's anchor in a storm. The winds may blow, the waves may crash, and the boat may rock violently, but the anchor keeps the ship from being swept away. Your empowering beliefs keep you anchored to your goals and your potential, even when external circumstances try to convince you to give up. This is why developing unshakable belief is not just about achieving specific goals. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle any situation life presents and turn it into an opportunity for growth and achievement. It's about developing such complete confidence in your ability to create solutions that no problem can permanently defeat you. Every challenge you overcome, every obstacle you navigate, and every setback you recover from becomes evidence for your belief system. Over time, you develop what I call unstoppable confidence. This isn't arrogance or blind optimism. It's quiet certainty based on a proven track record of finding ways to succeed regardless of circumstances. People with unstoppable confidence don't need external validation to pursue their dreams. They don't need perfect conditions to take action. They don't need guarantees of success to begin. They understand that the act of beginning with faith creates the momentum that leads to eventual success. This brings me to one of the most important distinctions I can share with you. There's a difference between believing in a specific outcome and believing in your ability to create great outcomes, regardless of what specific form they take. The first type of belief can be fragile because it depends on things working out exactly as planned. The second type of belief is unshakable because it's based on your adaptability and resourcefulness rather than your ability to control external circumstances. Let me illustrate this with the story of Thomas, an entrepreneur who exemplified this distinction perfectly. Thomas started a technology company with a very specific vision of the products he wanted to create and the market he wanted to serve. He believed deeply in his original business plan and was completely committed to making it succeed. For the first 2 years, Thomas pursued his original vision with tremendous energy and dedication. But despite his best efforts, the market didn't respond the way he had anticipated. His products were well designed, but failed to gain traction with customers. His funding was running out, and many advisors suggested he close the company and find a traditional job. A person with fragile belief might have interpreted these setbacks as evidence that they weren't meant to be an entrepreneur, or that their dreams were unrealistic. But Thomas had developed unshakable belief in his ability to create value and build successful businesses, even if the specific form was different than he originally envisioned. Instead of giving up, Thomas began studying his market more carefully and listening more intently to customer feedback. He discovered that while customers weren't interested in his original products, they had other technology needs that his company was uniquely positioned to address. Thomas made the difficult decision to pivot his business model completely. This pivot required Thomas to let go of his attachment to his original vision while maintaining absolute faith in his ultimate success. It required him to learn new skills, develop new products, and target new markets. But because his belief was anchored in his capabilities rather than a specific outcome, he was able to make these changes with confidence rather than desperation. Today, Thomas runs a multi-million-dollar technology services company that looks nothing like his original vision, but has far exceeded his original financial goals. He regularly tells other entrepreneurs, success rarely looks exactly like what you initially envision. But it's always possible if you stay committed to creating value and solving problems. This is the difference between outcome-dependent belief and capability-based belief. When your belief is anchored in your ability to learn, adapt, and create value regardless of circumstances, you become virtually unstoppable. You can navigate any change, overcome any obstacle, and turn any setback into a setup for even greater success. Now, as we approach the end of our time together, I want to leave you with the most important message of all. Everything I've shared with you today is worthless unless you take action on it. Knowledge without application is just entertainment. Understanding without implementation is just intellectual exercise. You now understand the power of unshakable belief to transform your life. You know the strategies for developing empowering beliefs and eliminating limiting ones. You have examples of real people who have used these principles to create extraordinary results despite facing significant challenges. The question now is not whether these principles work. The question is whether you will work the principles. Will you make the commitment to examine your belief system, challenge your limitations, and begin acting as if your dreams are inevitable rather than impossible? I want to challenge you to make a decision right now that will change the trajectory of your entire life. Choose one goal that represents your biggest dream, something that would transform your circumstances and fulfill your deepest aspirations. Write it down clearly and specifically with a definite deadline for achievement. Then, identify the limiting beliefs that have been holding you back from pursuing this goal with complete commitment. What do you believe about yourself, your circumstances, or your possibilities that has kept you playing smaller than your potential? Write these limiting beliefs down so you can see them clearly. Next, create powerful, empowering replacement beliefs that support your goal and inspire bold action. Don't just make them positive, make them compelling. Write them in present tense, as if they're already true, and feel the emotion of absolute certainty as you read them. Finally, commit to feeding your mind with these empowering beliefs every single day, while taking consistent action toward your goal. Read inspiring books, listen to motivational audio programs, associate with successful people, and most importantly, act as if your success is inevitable rather than uncertain. Do this for the next 90 days, and I guarantee you will be amazed by the changes in your confidence, your capabilities, and your results. Your life will begin to align with your new belief system, and opportunities will appear that were invisible to you when you operated from a mindset of limitation. But you must begin now, today, in this moment. Don't wait for perfect conditions or complete certainty. Don't wait until you feel ready or until you have all the answers. Start where you are, with what you have, and trust that your commitment to growth will attract the resources, relationships, and opportunities you need to succeed. Remember, every person who has ever achieved something extraordinary started exactly where you are now, with nothing more than a dream and a decision to believe in it until it became reality. You have the same potential, the same capabilities, and the same access to the principles that govern success and achievement. Your extraordinary life is not a distant possibility. It's an imminent reality waiting for you to claim it through. The power of unshakable belief coupled with massive, consistent action. The time for excuses is over. The time for action is now. Every small step counts, even when everything seems difficult. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and the life of your dreams begins with a single decision to believe in it completely. Make that decision now, and let today be the day your transformation began. Do not finish this reading without choosing a magnificent destiny to begin creating immediately. Your future self is counting on the decision you make right here, right now. Will you choose to remain limited by old beliefs, or will you choose to embrace the unlimited potential that has always existed within you? The choice is yours, and the time is now. Your extraordinary destiny is waiting.